Hey, my name is Jaime Burke, and I am an intuitive energy healer and a life transformation coach. And a lot of you seem to be really interested in my backstory, and it's something that is still hard for me to talk about because being vulnerable is not easy, even though it is our superpower. And I'll talk about that another time. But I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always passionate about nutrition. I wasn't always ranting and raving about fruit and the importance of eating fruit and dismantling the fear around it. For most of my life, I struggled with my weight. For most of my life, I didn't love, honor, or respect myself. I didn't feed myself well. Um, I was one of those chronic yo-yo dieters because I was heavy. And it was really modeled to me in my childhood that unless you're beautiful and skinny, then you're not really worth it. You're not worth much, that your worth lied in your physical appearance. And that was really painful. And I've done a lot of emotional healing over my lifetime. And the things that I promote, the things that I teach my clients are things that I myself have been using for the majority of my life. And why, for me, community is so important is that I didn't have a community to do this work when I was young. I really felt like I was on the outside and I didn't have a mentor, older sister to show me the path. I had to do this alone, and it was a real steep uphill battle for 20 something years. And so the work that I'm doing with Katie through the Body Love Mission is all about creating a community for people to feel held and to feel safe and to connect with other people who are like-minded, who want the best for themselves, who want to love themselves and to heal those parts of themselves that are still in shame or in suffering or in separation. And so what I realized was taking control of my health through the food that I ate was really a foundation for healthy habits and for, making this a lifestyle. It's not just a trend. It's not a yo-yo diet. And with all yo-yo diets, I mean, it's called a yo-yo diet because you lose weight and you gain it back once you stop eating in that way. And I've tried them all. I've tried paleo and keto and Weight Watchers and the diet where you basically eat all of your calories in a like 1 hour window and kind of starve yourself all the rest of the day. And none of them stuck. None of them are sustainable. And if it's not sustainable, then what is the point? We want to create healthy habits to sustain living a healthy life, being able to enjoy more of our life. And so it's important that the way that we eat is sustainable, it's easy, it's enjoyable, and we see the benefits from eating this way, living in this way. So, I did Weight Watchers when I was really, really young. And what I found about it was like, they had all these frozen dinners you could have or frozen desserts. And I was in the cycle of binging. Luckily, I was never into purging, but I was really into binging. There was a lot of emotional healing that I had to do. I had a very critical, very emotionally abusive family. And I was in a lot of emotional pain, but I didn't know how to communicate that. I didn't know how to ask for help. And so instead of processing the emotions, I ate food that gave me temporary relief from feeling in pain because of the sugar rush or the calorie rush. And that was my habit for a long, long, long time. And actually, I probably had emotional eating habits, as we all do. We all do. Up until last year, and COVID for me was actually a gift in that area of my life because it really forced me to see where I still had these negative and harmful patterns of emotionally eating in my car. About 5.5 years ago, I was in a car accident and I was in a terrible amount of physical pain for about 2.5 years. And I was in my car a lot for work. I was driving all over the city, teaching yoga, seeing clients one-on-one. And what I didn't realize at the time was that I still had so much anxiety around driving and being in my car that I would just eat whenever I was in my car driving to get from point A to point B without feeling um, the anxiety, the nervousness. And so I used food to numb out, which is what a lot of us do. When something is too painful to deal with, we find an addictive pattern or habit to suppress the reality. And so a lot of what we do in the Nutrition Reset program and in the Body Love Mastery programs is looking at these unhelpful habits and patterns that we have, and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable to express them within communities so that they don't have as much power over us. And we get to start to reprogram. So coming back to my relationship with food, when I look back, I started to look back at old pictures of myself. And I was sort of really heavy until university. I went to university and I picked up some unhealthy habits around working out obsessively and really restricting my caloric intake. So eating foods that had a lot of processed ingredients and had very few calories. So I was working out really hard and really limiting what I ate. And that helped me to lose weight for a few years. And I had some really gnarly habits in university. It wasn't just that. I was into binge drinking and partying. And again, like these were the things that were sort of helping me cope with the emotional stuff that was going on beneath the surface that I wasn't ready to see or deal with just yet. It took more years to be able to really dig into that narrative and pull out the roots of those wounds, which I've done. But I'm not going to get into that. I really want to keep this around food and nutrition. I met my ex-husband when I was in my, I guess I was in my late 20s. And that was the first time in my life where I really felt unconditional love and safety. And we fell into the habit of, sitting around, watching TV, eating pizza, and just enjoying each other's company, laughing a lot. But picking up some really bad food habits. And so from all the weight that I had lost over my university years, I slowly started to put back on when I moved back from university, when I struggled with my parents' divorce and more family stuff. And it was just like, it's like whenever emotional trauma or tragedy happens, we lean back into our old patterns using food to numb out. And that was my story. That's been my story. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. And I guess when I did my first yoga teacher training, it really made me take a step back and reflect on my life and reflect on what my patterns and habits were throughout my life. And I had also developed an autoimmune disorder, or an autoimmune label, been diagnosed with a label, which was psoriasis. And I had this really uncomfortable, painful lesions on my skin. And I went to see naturopathic doctors. I went to see nutritionists, and they all gave me the same information. I had to eat more meat and cut out fruit. And I did a number of different cleanses trying to heal my psoriasis. I even went as far to be drinking bentonite clay, drinking clay 3 times a day to try and kill the candida in my body, which was causing my psoriasis. And this just didn't prove to be helpful or true. The more I starved my body of fruit, the more meat and animal protein that I ate, animal fat that I ate, the more depressed I felt, the more anxious I felt, and actually my skin didn't get any better whatsoever. And it really wasn't until a few years ago that I started to find more untraditional, holistic ways of healing the body, of using nutrition, that I started to really heal. When I met Katie, she was like, that was the cherry on top. The things that I've learned through her are things that legitimately bring me joy, that have given me more energy, and been able to balance my mood better. And really, I feel they're so much more sustainable. Like I notice now I'm going on vacation and I'm making choices around food that I never would have considered in the past. Like I never would have gone to Mexico and not eaten meat or pork specifically, because I love it so much and it's such a big part of the cuisine there. And I'm at a point where I'm actually feeling really proud of all the work that I've done around emotional eating and also intuitive eating, because for so many years I was just looking at those professionals, tell me, what's the right way to eat, and I would try it and I would try it and I would try it, and I was like, I don't see any difference. Okay, I've lost a couple of pounds, which is great, but starving myself of fruit didn't get me anywhere but depressed. Really, I love fruit, and when I started to incorporate fruit back into my diet, I wept. Like, I cried my eyes out because I felt so liberated finally from the shackles of like not eating the thing that I sort of knew intuitively my body needed. And it's interesting to see how many people are still being told by healthcare practitioners they need to cut fruit out of their diet to heal their bodies. This is not true. And so, what I've really discovered, what I promote, are only things that have worked for me for healing a lifetime of digestive issues. I had digestive issues my entire life from the time I was a baby, um, to really being able to manage chronic pain, depression, anxiety, and to support healing my skin. My psoriasis looks better than it ever has. It hasn't gone away completely, but it didn't happen overnight. And so it's not going to go away overnight. And I just accept that. And I accept that everything that I do is to heal my body, is to honor my body, is to nourish myself in the best way I can, because we have choices around what we put into our body. Even though a lot of our choices as human beings have been taken away from us right now, there's always choices we can make around our own health and our own sovereignty within our bodies. And so what I realized about my food habits is I was looking at all these trends, and all these trends just kept taking me further and further away from what was natural. And that was, what our agreement is with Mother Earth. That Mother Earth, nature, provides everything we need as human beings to thrive, to be vital, healthy, and happy. And so everything that we promote is about realigning you with that agreement with Mother Earth. If you can grow your own fruits and vegetables, incredible. If you live in an apartment and you only can do like a small herb garden, whatever you can do to create more of a relationship to nature, that's going to be healing for you. That food is going to be even more vital and nutritious for your body than what you get at the grocery store. And there's experiments, science experiments, that show how much nutritional value this food has that comes from the grocery store, this food has that comes from an organic farmer, or this food has that you're buying directly from the person who grew it, from the farmer's market. Just imagine how much more nutritious it is when it actually comes from the seeds that you plant in the soil yourself. And so one of the foundational nutrition habits I've developed, it's a non-negotiable for me, is eating as many fruits as my body will allow that day. So every morning I make a big fruit bowl. I don't typically eat it all. I usually eat a little in the morning and a little in the afternoon, or I'll have a smoothie, or I'll cut it up, have one this morning and the next half tomorrow morning. But fruit, how vital and valuable fruit is to human beings. If you want to heal anything, digestive issues, skin issues, any other autoimmune label, do not let any healthcare practitioner tell you that you don't need fruit. When we fill our bodies with fruit, we're less likely to crave sugar. We're less likely to crave the things that we don't really need. And what's also amazing is once you say, these are my non-negotiables around my diet, you just stick to them. And what's been so vital to this journey is being in community. I didn't have a community of people who were like-minded, who wanted to grow and to evolve and to learn and to, be the truth seekers and not just accept, what a doctor said as the word of God. I had an uphill battle. I had to do this on my own for many years of my life. And this Body Love community is really about aligning with people who want the best for themselves, who want the most happiness they can have out of life, the best health that they can have, and who are also willing to do the work that it takes to get to that place, to achieve the goals. And so I'm really excited to invite more people to share more of my story with them. I've lost over 100 pounds in the last 8 years. And I really feel like, the last year, 2000 to 2001, was my year to really understand the impact that making these choices have had. Because, you start with the choices that you make around food, and then it trickles into the choices that you make around, boundaries with friends and with romantic partnerships and with family. And it's incredible what happens when you start saying yes to yourself and you start really taking accountability for your life, start taking ownership in your life. And so food was the first way that I started to say yes to myself, that I started to affirm that I'm worthy of living the kind of life that I want. I'm worthy of having better health and more energy, and that I don't have to just settle on what this doctor says because they have a bunch of letters behind their name or they went to school for many, many years. It is about you finding what is true for you and sticking to that, holding that vision for yourself. So this has been a wild ride. I have gone from eating mostly meat to mostly fruits and vegetables. And if I show you pictures from my paleo days, you will agree I look younger, more vibrant, healthier, thinner now. And I just eat in a way that my body wants. I don't follow any hard rules. My only rule is to make sure that I'm putting things that have more um, good things, more nutrients, more vitamins in them into my body than I put things that just taste good, that don't really have as many nutrients or nutritional value. Like I love rice and I love all carbs, pasta, pizza, all those things, but I don't eat them a lot of the time because I don't feel good when I eat them. And now I really realize how they impact me when I do have them. And they better be worth it if I'm going to put them in my body. And so just coming back from vacation, I said, okay, I love pork. I'm going to have it once. And I didn't know at what point of my trip I was going to have that, that animal meal, but I waited until it was worth it. My partner was with me and he was having these look delicious sausages. And I was like, you know what? This is it. I had half of one, less than half of one. And I was completely satisfied. And I stuck to my other principles around nutrition, which is, to eat more fruits and vegetables than anything else. And I felt really good about it. And I didn't feel guilty after I ate it. I did notice what happened to my body after I ate it. And that's what's the most interesting about you really taking responsibility for your health and really noticing how everything that we put in affects us in a positive way or in a negative way. For me, I'm not going to tell you what happens after I ate that pork sausage, but I'm just going to say it didn't smell good. It wasn't pretty. Um, and so my journey with food has really been, the last 20 years of trying all those different diets to see what doesn't work, what doesn't lead to long-term success, and then finding a way that the food that I eat makes me feel pleasure and joy and inspired. It helps me to keep my mood optimistic instead of, sort of heavy and depressed and wanting to isolate myself, because I spent many years in that story too, being isolated in pain, chronic pain. And I'm going to tell you, your health and vitality is not going to come from opening up a package. It's not going to come from powdered proteins or manufactured food. It is going to come with really getting back to strip down as close to nature as possible, and even more powerful when you start to grow your own food. And if you don't believe me, let yourself be your own experiment. Try it, find out what works, what doesn't work for you. Remember, what's true for you is your truth. So my truth might not be different for yours, but what I've realized in working with people one-on-one for the last 5 years with their health is we typically all need similar things. We need fruits and vegetables. We need good quality water. We need vitamins and minerals. We need connection. That is for sure. And if I can inspire one person to, get inquisitive, get curious about their health and, questioning what their doctor said about eating more meat and eating more supplements and taking more protein powders, question it, try it, get to the root of what works for you. And if you are ready to step into community, let's chat. I'm happy to invite you in are you ready to love your body as best as you possibly can? Because in the end, it's us. We are here. We are our own best friends. And it is up to us to make these changes for ourselves because we love and value our lives. I'm sending you so much love, and I am happy to share more of this story with you. If you have questions, some of it's just too painful. I'm not ready to go into the depths of, why the emotional eating habits and patterns existed for so long, but I promise you, I will continue to lead by example. I'll continue to be more and more vulnerable as a way to show you that healing is possible, and it happens when we allow ourselves to be seen and to be witnessed in our truth, and especially in those stories that have been most painful. Sending you much love. Thank you for listening. Ciao for now.